Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm going to do another Polyphia track today. This one's been requested quite a few times. This is Playing God by Polyphia. It's quite an event for me doing the other Polyphia and Steve Vai reaction video simply because I didn't expect that people were going to pick up on it so quickly, because it's not normally what I do here. I'm all about Indian classical music and the guitar, but I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying, trying to do what I can to listen and see what I can hear, and maybe try and help you guys pick out little things just to help us all appreciate the music, because I'm loving what they're doing. So let's get stuck into this. So let's go back to the beginning and check that out. So they're using their custom signature model guitar. Tim just put out another video of him playing part of this song, demonstrating the new guitar, this nylon string guitar that has its own preamp built in, and it looks like it's sort of semi-hollow. Yeah, it's semi-hollow. It's got a really clever little sort of sound hole on the top side of the guitar, which I think will just help the guitar player to hear more accurately what you're doing, almost like a little monitoring system, acoustically built in. So it's very interesting what they're doing. This is the kind of thing that I would just normally expect to hear a flamenco guitar player doing. I wouldn't blink if I saw a modern flamenco guitar player playing these kinds of lines, rhythmically, harmonically, and everything about it. I'd be like, oh, there we go, it's a contemporary flamenco guitar player writing some amazing music. But coming from them, I just wonder how consciously they've adopted this really Hispanic style. I mean, in the last tune, the Ego Death, that one had just a classic descending cadence of those chord changes, which kind of had that Andalusian cadence built in there. And I played it to some friends of mine, and they said, well, this is kind of just like really funky flamenco, But this one, even more, particularly because it's pretty much the whole track's I think the whole track is being played on these nylon string guitars, so it has that flamenco sound to it. So let's keep watching, and I'll see if I can point out some different things. Synthesis built into it as well, so perfectly done. So always these harmonics, I think using the harmonics in the middle of a kind of rhythm lead guitar part is such a key part of Tim's style. He's always putting those harmonics in there with great rhythm. So the placement is always beautiful, and it's clever that he's always finding the right harmonics to fit, the melodic direction that he's going in. These kind of guitar parts are going to be specific to the key that they're written in. So he wouldn't be able to just play this in a different key on the fly like you would if you were maybe playing a different kind of guitar riff that you can more easily just move around, because it's so reliant on the open strings and then being able to do harmonics with those strings. But that's actually very in line with the whole flamenco tradition of playing guitar as well. They use the open strings to pedal different notes from. So they might be playing a melody with their thumb while doing tremolo picking as a kind of pedal point on maybe the higher notes, and using their thumb to play melody notes, and then interweaving all of that together. So if they play in a different key, then they'll always have a capo to shift, to the first or second fret, or further up the neck as well. Sometimes they play quite high up with the capo. So the guitar parts that they're playing are so specifically built around the whole arrangement of the open strings that you have, and they rely on those open strings very heavily to create all of the different elements. Let's keep listening. And this part, it's almost like just pure Al Di Meola. So I wonder if you guys have heard people like John McLaughlin, Al Di Meola playing together. They had a guitar trio in the early 80s with Paco de Lucia, who's considered the greatest flamenco guitar player of all time. And they had Al Di Meola, and he would play steel string with a pick. John McLaughlin would play nylon string but with a pick. So each guitar player had their own kind of little area. But these kind of lines, these fast plucked, very flamenco sounding lines, but doing it with a plectrum. So it has its own sort of, an instrument which has got a pickup. So it's got its own sort of character. But these lines, it's like Al Di Meola's kind of dropped in and played some guitar solo for them. And there's always really great articulation from the drums. The drums are really getting in there and making those different rhythms jump out rather than just holding a beat. There's a great sense of groove that's really carried on through. There's a very strong groove, but he's articulating the different curves of the melody. So the rhythm is very strong. It really grabs you. But I think that just their whole approach to the guitar is just a kind of quite a global approach. You see how like they're always moving it around so much, so they're not just in one area, or they might be doing more linear single note lines like Scott's playing here, but then they'll be moving straight into like a chordal melody as well. So there's always so much variation going on. Nice harmony part there. And the dynamics, they structure things really well. So now we drop the dynamics down again. So you always have the sense that it's building. Great little bit of just that digital editing there to make that note. What was it? Let's go back and hear it again. This part, it really caught my ear. It sounds like it's tremolo, but it must be sort of digitally constructed tremolo. And I don't know how they've really done that, but it could be something like taking the note and cutting it up and speeding it up, so you hear the same note kind of but buzzing away. But it's so greatly, it's just so greatly executed that the artistic choice of how they're doing it in a way that works. Yeah. And great groove with the bass guitars, really carrying the groove in a beautiful way. Yeah, and now it kind of opens up and sounds more lighter and ethereal. So the whole composition has got a really interesting arc, an interesting journey to it. Right, and now it's got much more of a Latin feel here. And those kind of chords, it's very much like Brazilian Bossa Nova influenced. Yeah. So it's like we've come more from the kind of modern Andalusia, Spain, and now we've gone more into like Brazil. And that melody, like, I'm sure I've heard that before. I'm sure that I've just heard that melody before. It's just that kind of jazzy Bossa Nova style kind of melody with that lilt to the timing. I wouldn't be surprised if that's come from another piece, or maybe it's just it's one of those melodies that you hear it and you just feel, oh, that's so right, I must have heard it before. But I love it. I just think it's fantastically done. I don't even really care if it did actually come from somewhere else, or if maybe it belongs to another record from the '60s or something like that. That's how it kind of sounds. It sounds like something from the '60s, but but modern audiences are loving it. Yeah, and check that out. Check it out when he's doing that high part. There's a synthesis that's overlaid on top of that guitar part. It's so beautifully done now. There's some synth part go on top. Great drumming, great drum fills. Yeah, really amazing mix of that. It feels kind of relaxed, and it's got that legato. It's got that kind of like breezy, like Brazilian kind of vibe to it. But then at the same time, then they're putting in those more staccato, like aggressive kind of things that are taken from, this is a metal band. I mean, it's so funny. It's like a metal band playing Hispanic, Latin influenced melodies and chord progressions, but then they're using their kind of metal chops to put in these really cool, like spicy and spiky rhythmic interspersions in there. It's so brilliantly done. It's like relaxing but intriguing. It's kind of hypnotic, but it's mentally stimulating. It's just such a great balance that they've got going. Yeah, great coordination there between the feet and the hands you could hear on the drumming. So interesting, these little lines. Much more angular melody coming in there. Following the melodic progression really beautifully. Let's see that again. So these like these kind of things. They're arpeggiated lines, but you can hear how they're arpeggiated lines are very interesting melodic sort of geometry between how the notes, how he's combining the different registers. He's high and he's low, and he's high and he's low, and he's it's almost like you've got two different melodies kind of working side by side, but it's spelling out beautifully these different chords that they're moving through. So yeah, it's just very intelligently written. I really love that. So that section comes in and it sounds much more angular, but the chords, that's the great thing about, they've taken on that sort of Brazilian type of harmony where complex chords, but there's a smoothness, there's like an easiness to it in the way that the chords change. So some jazz can be a bit more angular with its choice of chords, but then the thing about the Brazilian style of jazz harmony is that it never sounds like it's testing you or pushing you too much. It's never discordant. It's always got a fluid kind of like liquid vibe to it. Brazil. But so I love how they've taken that on so deeply and effectively, but they're doing it in their own unique kind of progressive modern way. So it feels totally new, but it's like these guys have really done their homework. They've really got into that, but at the same time they haven't just picked sort of like standard like Girl from Ipanema chord changes or something. They've actually taken their own approach and they've written a really interesting, unique chord progression. changes underneath the melody. So yeah, just the voice leading everything about how the chords are moving underneath. Yeah, I mean, so complex, but so easy to listen to. You know, it's so easy to just sit here and take it all in and just kind of let it wash over you. But then when you analyze it and try to, I mean, I'm not even really beginning to analyze it. I'm just talking about the things that I'm spotting, some of the things that I'm seeing. And then any one of those things could be just the beginning of a whole rabbit hole of actually going down and truly analyzing the harmony and the melody. There'd be so much more to do to really uncover what they're doing there. But I hope that with these kind of videos I can just help people maybe to continue to appreciate and enjoy the music. I mean, I'm sure anyone watching this video already likes the music's already appreciating the music, but I think with these kind of videos we can maybe just help each other to maybe hear things that we would hear, and you know, maybe help other people to hear some of those things as well, even just if it's spotting or just appreciating, oh wow, it's really interesting how that chord changed under the melody and how he's articulating the different chord changes so beautifully with that arpeggio pattern. Because when you start to just use some of that language, thinking about melody, rhythm, harmony, and arpeggios, which are when you're moving through a chord but doing it in a sort of scale-wise manner, or this idea of inverting arpeggios. So instead of going, let's see if I can maybe play the guitar a little bit here. Feels a bit daunting just picking up a guitar after watching something that good. But I'll just give you a very basic example. That say if you have a major 7 chord, you can play straight through the arpeggio, but you can also invert the arpeggio. You can play like, or starting in the middle, or starting at the top. So you can do things where you're inverting the arpeggio, and some of the things that Tim's doing there, he won't be sticking purely to just one chord type or one arpeggio, because he's mixing in different leading tones, different chordal colours and scale degrees into those arpeggios. But this idea of them being inverted, so rather than just going straight linearly up and down, he's sort of playing low, jumping up and then coming back, but all of that's happening in like a split second. But when you look at the kind of melodies that he's picking out there, he's creating a melodic path, but it's full of all of these different combinations of intervals that are jumping between the registers, and the way that he often uses the guitar, where he's moving up and down the neck the whole time. So he's not in any one place for more than like a beat or two, then he's moving somewhere else, and he's interspersing chords and single note lines, and at the same time he's moving through the chord progression. So it's not improvised, but it's like that high level jazz playing where you're moving through a chord progression, but you're creating a totally unique and interesting melody, but it's weaving its way through the kind of complex web of those harmonies. So yeah, I just think it's amazing, and I'm going to do another Polyphia video, actually going to react to another one, because I'm just taking my time to spend a bit of time just to really get to know the music a bit better and kind of share that journey with you guys. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.